This is a video about the sub-factions of the new Seraphon battle tome. Hello, this is 60 Goblins and 1 Brush with another video about Warhammer Age of Sigmar, about the Seraphon. This time we'll talk about the new sub-factions of the new Seraphon battle tome. To analyze the sub-factions, we first have to talk a little bit about the factions. You have to choose between the Coalesced and the Starborne. Basically, the Coalesced are the fighters, while the Starborne are the magicians. If you choose Coalesced, you can choose between two sub-factions, the Koatl's Claw and the Thunder Lizards. If you're Starborne, you can choose between the Fangs of Sotek and the Dracothion's Tail. Starborne means the way you played Seraphon before the new battle tome, only you get less celestial conjuration points. You get D3 for your general and D3 for your Astral Starbearer. In addition, each Slann or Oracle you have can exchange his first spell against another D3 celestial conjuration points. So that's actually not too bad if you have more Slann or one of the oracles on Dracothion. But you will still not gather so many conjuration points as quickly as before. The Coalesced means you have less bravery, but it's unmodifiable. So there's +1 jaws attacks, which is great if you have Carnosaur. Then positive terrain features are only for you and negative only for your enemy. And if your enemy deals more than 1 damage, it's reduced by 1. And as we have seen in battles that have been fought so far by mini wargamings and rerolling ones and so on, they're pretty beefy. The Coalesced are pretty beefy. If you choose not to choose any sub-faction, then you can choose for your general 1 or 3 command traits, depending if it's a Slann, a Skink or Saurus. All of them are pretty okay. The Slann and the Skinks are either better casters or get an extra command point, and the Saurus are better fighters or get an extra command point. The Slann and the Saurus on a 4+, and the Skink, they can deal an extra mortal wound. Okay, that's the basis on which we now have a look at the sub-factions. For the Starborne, we have the Dracothion's Tail or the Fangs of Sotek. The Dracothion's Tail has the ability appear on command, which basically means he can ambush. A Slann can ambush, but the units they have in reserve can be conjured within 18 inches of the Slann, who is the general. So the Dracothion's Tail will be your sub-faction if you play a Slann as a general. If you have a Skink as a general, you will choose the Fangs of Sotek, which means all the Skinks will have a 3+ move in the first battle round, and they have the command ability Parting Shot. If they get charged, they can shoot at the enemy who charges, and on a 4+ they can retreat and thus avoid the fight. That's pretty neat. So they took away the ability from the Skinks that they can retreat and put it in the Fangs of Sotek sub-faction. What you have to pay for it is a command ability. The Dracothion's Tail does not have a command ability. It only has its ability appear on command, the ambush ability, which is not necessarily a disadvantage. It's rather an advantage because you don't have to pay with a command point. So if you compare the two abilities, appear on command and first to battle and Parting Shot, it's hard to compare because one is clearly for a Slann and the other one for a Skink general. Then instead, not in addition, but instead of the command traits I mentioned before, you have the Ancient Knowledge for the Dracothion's Tail, which means you get 1 extra spell and you can reroll 1 cast, dispel or unbinding roll each phase. While the Fangs of Sotek have Old and Grizzled, which means in your hero phase you get an extra command point on a 3+. That's really good on a 3. They're both good, but I would even say that Old and Grizzled, an extra command point on a 3+, is worth a little bit more than an extra spell and reroll 1 cast or dispel. You don't have to take one of the sub-factions, of course. You probably will, because some of the abilities are quite good. So the artifact for the Dracothion's Tale for your Slann general is Godbeast Pendant, which means the first time he's killed, on a 4+, he's not killed. He comes back with all his wounds restored. That's really powerful. Serpent Gore Dagger of the Fangs of Sotek is also really powerful. Your general chooses one melee weapon, and if he causes any damage with this melee weapon, but your enemy does not die from them, then you roll, and on a 5+, your enemy is slain. That's really a lot. I mean, that's like Nagash kind of powerful. All in all, I would say they are equally powerful, those two artifacts. As an analysis, I would say, if you play a skink-heavy army, you probably don't get around taking the Fangs of Sotek. It's too powerful not to take. It buffs your skinks and it gives them back the ability to retreat. Then if you take a Slann as a general, yeah, there are some other great abilities and command traits and artifacts, but it's good enough to take it. For example, if you choose a normal command trait, if you don't choose a sub-faction, you get either the reroll 1 casting or +1 extra spell, but not both, like in the Dracothion's Tale. Now, if you play the Coalesced, you can choose between the Koatl's Claw and the Thunder Lizard. If you play a Soros heavy army, you probably take Koatl's Claw. And if you play an army that is mostly consisting of behemoths, of monsters like Stegadons and Engine of the Gods and Bastillodons and so on, then you probably take the Thunder Lizard sub-faction. The ability of the Koatl's Claw is add 1 to hit rolls if you made a charge move in that turn. That sounds pretty weak, but in combination with the command ability, of course you have to have enough command points for that, it's pretty good, because you can choose one unit that is next to a hero, wholly within 24 inches of a hero, and then the unit you chose counts as having made a charge move, independent of it if it did charge or not. So that is a +1 to hit for at least one unit, or how many units you can activate by command points. But now there is another synergy. The command trait in Koatl's Claw is, on a 4+, you receive an extra command point, which is exactly what you need. So you get it back with a 50% probability. The ability of the Thunder Lizards is that all Thunder Lizard monsters get +2 wounds. That's really tough. All of them. As many as you have, they all get 2 wounds more. Usually you get something like that for your general, but not for all of them. Your command ability is, for 1 command point, you can choose 1 Bastillodon or Engine of the Gods, which can shoot in the hero phase, in addition to the shooting phase. That can be nice. You can activate it whenever necessary, when it's worth to spend the command point for this. And the command trait is Prime Warbeast, which means +1 attack for all the weapons used by the general's mount. So which monsters can be mounted by a general? The Stegadon, if there's a Skink Chief, which is unlikely. The Bastillodon can't. The Carnosaurs, both Carnosaurs, they can be and are mounted. And then the Troglodyte with the Skink Chief. Unfortunately, there are no mounted Slann units. +1 attack for all melee weapons of a Carnosaur is pretty tough. Then, as a Coalesced army, you get +1 on the jaw attacks, and the most powerful attack of the Carnosaur is the jaw attack. So instead of 3 jaw attacks, which may cause up to 5 wounds, with 1 rend, you get 5 jaw attacks. So maximum 25 wounds. That does sound ferocious. Then the artifacts of power. Koatl's Claw, which is probably a Soros general. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons, and on an unmodified hit roll of 6, you inflict 2 extra mortal wounds in addition to the normal damage. If you are a Soros Old Blood on a Carnosaur, you have 3 attacks with your Celestite weapon, so you have a 50% chance to cause 2 extra mortal wounds. But if you have a Scar veteran on a Carnosaur, you can choose a weapon with 6 attacks, and then you have theoretically 100% 2 extra mortal wounds. Of course, you can just as well manage not to roll any 6s, but your probability is quite high. As artifact, not as powerful as slaying someone on a 5+, also not as powerful as coming back to life on a 4+, but it's still good. While the Fusel of Conflagration, the Thunder Lizards Sub-Faction artifact, is so-so. It's a shooting weapon with 12-inch reach. On a 6, the enemy unit suffers d6 mortal wounds. On a 4 or 5, d3 mortal wounds. On a 2 or 3, nothing happens. And on a 1, the thing doesn't work and will not ever work during the whole battle. It's broken. That's pretty shitty. So apart from the artifact, you can again not really say which one is the better sub-faction, as the one is better fitting for a very Soros heavy army and the other one for a very big lizard behemoth monster kind of army. So as a summary, first you have to choose Coalesced or Starborne, and then once you choose your faction, you can only choose 2 sub-factions. You cannot choose out of all 4 for every faction, but you only have 2 choices. And then the choice is made again. Basically, if you play a Slan heavy, sorcery heavy army, you play Dracothion's Tail. If you play a Skink heavy army and want that retreat ability back, you play Fangs of Sotek. If you play a Soros heavy army, you play Koatl's Claw. If you play a Behemoth heavy army, you play Thunder Lizards. The Thunder Lizards have one additional implicit ability. If you have a Thunder Lizard sub-faction army, you can use Dagadons as a battle line unit, if and only then. Again, I think that the Koatl's Claw and Thunder Lizard sub-factions are a little bit more powerful. I mean, +2 wounds for each and every monster. That's monstrous. And with Koatl's Claw, you can choose at least one unit that will have +1 to hit, and on a 50% chance you get this command point back. Dracothion's Tail and Fangs of Sotek are not so powerful, I think, but the artifacts of power are pretty amazing. So for your general or whichever hero you choose, coming back on a 4+ is powerful, and slaying someone on a 5+ is also very dark. But those heroes are not likely to live through any serious confrontation. You can kill Slan and Skinks quite easily. On the other hand, the Skink could sit on a Troglodon and then it looks a little bit different. Or the Slan could be surrounded by a Soros guard who will take off wounds on a 2+ that were meant for the Slan. Yeah, I would like to try out all of them, but I definitely want to try out the Coalesced, and I can't wait to try out the Thunder Lizards. The Thunder Lizards really, I think that's my thing. Initially I thought the Koatl's Claw, but the longer I think about it, I really want to try the Thunder Lizards once this whole craziness is over. The best sub-faction for me is the Thunder Lizards. But tell me what you think, tell me what your experience is, or what you hear out of this or read out of this. Which sub-faction do you want to try out, or have you tried out already, or which is your favorite? Leave it in the comments below. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and see you very, very soon.